Roger, Roger. You're good, readable. Just a lot of stations stepping on each other. Roger, you're good, readable. Please.
What's going on, everyone? This is Sergeant First Class Ellis Noto with the Indiana National Guard, back again for another edition of the Lima Charlie podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Sergeant First Class Robbie Schweitzer, and we're here today with the Holistic Health and Fitness team. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Awesome. Could you guys introduce yourself? Tell us what your MOS is, what you do here in the Indiana Guard.
So I started off as 11 Bravo and currently hold 2 MOSs. I got 11 Bravo and 19 Delta, so 2 combat MOSs. I've been doing it for 20 years now.
Okay.
AGR for almost getting to my 18-year mark. So,
And could we get your name?
yes, it's a Sergeant First Class Jason Knies. Forgot about that part.
It's all right. Staff Sergeant Adam Gallick. I am the Holistic Health and Fitness course manager. So I've been down there for a little over 3 years now. Been in the Guard for about 20 years, just slightly less. AGR for, I lost track, 6, 7, something like that now. But I manage all of our kind of instructional courses. So Life Fit course, our H2F clinic, things like that.
That's pretty cool. And then yourself, ma'am?
Yes, so I'm Crystal Wray. I am one of the strength and conditioning coaches in the H2F team, and I've been with the team for 4 years now.
That's pretty cool. Now, you guys have mentioned your AGR, and you're obviously your full-time, civilian. What is your background in personal fitness and things like that? Fitness training.
So for me, it started probably back in 2012 or 2013. I went to Master Fitness Trainer. Did some work at the brigade level at 76th, helping train guys there, and then got pushed off into what they called the Division Life course, which was like the precursor to Life Fit and some other courses that we put on. And then after that, kind of fell into the Life Fit course manager, which he was in right now, in 2017. And then that was pretty much my background of like getting into the whole fitness realm.
That's pretty cool. How about yourself? What's your background in this?
Yeah, so 2004-ish, right before I went to basic training, decided to fail PT test. So started off strong on the strength conditioning side.
Start.
Yeah. But yeah, so through basic and over the years and everything, different units I spent time at, I realized how important physical fitness, strength conditioning really are.
Of course.
And so then in 2018, went to the Master Fitness course because heard about this new H2F program. Indiana was kind of at the forefront of it, and there were some AGR spots available for H2F cadre. And then realized that Master Fitness is really just kind of the step into the door, so to speak, and working with the coaches, for 3.5 years now, have gone far and beyond what what the 2 weeks of Master Fitness really touched on.
That's pretty cool. And then, ma'am, what is your background in personal training and things like that?
Yes, so my background started about 11, 12 years ago, and I went to Wright State University for my bachelor's. I ended up actually graduating in rehabilitation, and from then I started off as a certified personal trainer, getting the certification during college, and then after that I ended up getting my master's right away, and then from there, had a wide range of experience with professional organizations, campus, athletes, and for the most part, ended up in Indianapolis. I then trained an individual that was at my previous job, and she told me about a position that was with the National Guard. And so through her and keeping that relationship, I was able to apply, and now I have been with the team for 4 years since then.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So H2F, can you tell us what it is, what it stands for, what the program entails? It's kind of, at least I know for me, new and mysterious.
For us.
Yes. We were both talking about it. We're like, we really have no conception of what it is.
We have lots of questions, though.
Yes.
We got some answers.
Okay.
And I'll make up the rest.
Yeah.
But no.
Perfect.
So H2F, Holistic Health and Fitness, kind of sounds mysterious, kind of sounds like crystals and vortices and things like that. Not what it is. I think the most upfront answer I could give is anything that would be available to like a collegiate sports team, professional sports team. That's what the Army wants available to soldiers. Tactical athlete, warrior athlete, terms like that kind of get thrown around. But at the end of the day, what H2F is trying to do and what the Army is trying to do with H2F is provide athlete type services to soldiers. So H2F has 5 main domains, pillars. So you got strength conditioning, sleep, sleep wellness, sleep hygiene, mental wellness, spiritual, and then nutritional wellness as well. And then on the active duty side, H2F is aligned at the brigade level. So for active duty units, and we can talk about what Indiana has kind of specifically as well.
Right.
But what active duty units and what H2F is kind of templated for are strength and conditioning coaches, cognitive behavioral therapists, registered dietitians, nutrition assistants, physical therapists, occupational therapists, athletic trainers. I could go on, but that's kind of the bottom line up front of it.
It's very comprehensive. Like there's a lot of elements to it. So like he said, we're trying to get like the collegiate level idea out into the force. That way we can actually improve everyone's health, fitness, and everything.
Right.
So
Instead of just telling them to do more push-ups and run
or
more.
run
Right.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which is the biggest thing we're still trying to fight is, hey, just go run more.
So it's not just that.
No, I'm sorry.
Slightly.
We still have to run.
Sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
How does that? So it seems like there are some differences between the traditional, or what we consider to be traditional military fitness programs, and H2F. Could you go more into detail about that?
Yeah, sure. So FM 7-22 is the Holistic Health and Fitness Manual. It used to be the PRT manual, and a lot of people had some issues with PRT. All of those drills still exist. It's in ATP 7-22.02. Your climbing drills, your movement drills, all those kinds of things. Not a terrible program, not well pushed out to the force.
Yeah.
And so that's when people think of military PT or Army PT, like they're probably thinking of PRT and those different drills, the crouch run with body armor on, or guerrilla drills, or whatever have you. Or the advice that we've always gotten of, hey, do more push-ups, go run more.
Yeah.
Again, not the best advice. But we also, at least when I started 20 years ago, when you started 20 years ago,
Right.
there were no coaches available to us. And so that was kind of the best advice your NCOs, your officers had for you was, well, logically, if I need to do this more or faster, just go do more of it.
Right.
With talking to the coaches and everything that I've learned from them over the years, it's a lot deeper to that. For example, would you like to get faster at your 2-mile or 5-mile run? You need to run slower. You can run more, but run slower.
Right.
And we can, contact us on Instagram or H2F down there at Camp Atterbury, and I'll explain more there. That's the mysterious part.
Right.
Got
We got to keep it a little mysterious.
Exactly.
Right. Because otherwise they won't come to you.
No.
Right.
Right.
So you mentioned diet, right? Diet, nutrition. So anybody can field this answer. How is that playing a role in our overall fitness?
I think that's a Crystal question there.
That's what I was
Sure.
going to guess. but-
Crystal.
Yes. So I believe nutrition does play a huge role, not only in your daily lives, but also as a performance. So when you as a soldier, you are expected to go from 0 to 60, and your energy is what is your baseline. It is what fuels you already. So being able to get a good grasp of that, being able to understand just a foundation is very important on that end. So when we're talking about, the energy systems, when we're talking about what you need to do, food, you have to eat every day. Food, there's different sources, there's different ways, and even more now than ever, it's conveniency is what falls in our lap. So we try to distinguish what are whole foods, what are foods that grow from the ground, why are these important, versus, what are some things that are more appropriate for short term, or what do you need right before you do an ACFT. So there's a big spectrum of nutrition. There's lots of diet fads out there. Provide good temporary solutions, however, just not a very long-term positive solution.
Gotcha. And that's the kind of information that if a soldier reached out to you, that you'd be able to walk them through a little bit more in depth, right?
Roger. Yep.
100%.
And can they tailor those questions to what their end goal is? Like, so let's say they're training to do an ultra marathon. Like, would you be able to give them a little bit more than somebody that was just wanting to pass their ACFT?
Yes, absolutely. So our services, we provide one-on-one especially, and whether now we can also do it virtually too as well. So it's not just, hey, come to Camp Atterbury or come to one of our locations. We serve the whole state of Indiana. So then we are able to answer a few or ask a few intake questions, and then from then gather information, gather health history, what's your experience and what you've been doing, what have you been trying to do, what has worked. So we go through a series of questions just to help to get to know you better. We really just kind of peel back, the tougher questions and really try and get personal with you.
Gotcha.
So that, I think that is one thing that a lot of individuals don't recognize, is that we do care, and we want to be able to get to the root cause of what is causing you pain, what kind of nutrition are you doing on a daily basis, and then tie in all aspects of H2F to be able to help provide you the best solution. And we'll do that through trial and error, make sure that we are holding you accountable too as well. So it goes both ways. So communication here and there makes the engine go.
Awesome.
Accountability is that big piece, right?
Yes.
I think.
Oh, sure.
So you're saying that, like, if you design a program and then somebody doesn't adhere to it, they're not going to see progress or success?
Not normally, no.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's like
Okay.
one of those things,
Yeah.
if no one's holding you accountable,
Right.
then it's kind of difficult. So
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's so much more, as we've kind of touched on a few times, than just saying, hey, do more, whatever, right? We're going to see what that person's goal was, like Sergeant Schweitzer had said, and then tailor it and then hold them accountable for helping them, achieve their own goals. There are 5 pillars of H2F, right?
Right.
Could you walk us through what those 5 pillars are and how they contribute to a overall fitness regimen?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you got the mental aspect
Okay.
of H2F, and spiritual, which is a really big one that I think we miss on a lot of times through just the overall, just trying to figure out how to communicate that to everybody, because not everybody believes in one thing or the other.
Right.
So sleep is another big one that people neglect a lot, especially in the Army, because I know when I went through, it was like you're allowed 4 hours of sleep, and that's all they gave me.
Non-continuous.
Right. Yes, exactly. So, studies show anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sleep is ideal, but then, sometimes that doesn't always happen in the field, right?
Right.
So, my mind's blanking.
So spiritual and mental, we talked about. Nutrition.
Nutrition.
Our other,
Oh, yeah, it's a big one.
Yep.
Physical.
Physical, so strength conditioning, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have the 5th one that I'm blanking on as well.
See? Yeah.
Crystal,
See?
you want to contribute? What is the 5th pillar of H2F?
So you have spiritual, you have mental, you have sleep, nutrition, and physical.
Physical. That's it. Yes.
Gotcha.
Physical, the most important one.
Yes, exactly. Well, I try to the sleep thing is really big for me.
Yeah.
Because I think sleep, like I said, is one of the biggest neglected aspects of the H2F, especially out in the field and trying to get commanders to be like, hey, you guys need some sleep, because if they're not sleeping well, then they're not going to perform. And obviously there's, Met TC, like we always say, right? It all depends, but I think that's one of the ones that for me, since starting this whole journey, that I've had to really drill down and actually get into, like, tracking my sleep and making sure that I'm sleeping well. So yeah.
You had mentioned when we were talking before the episode started, sleep hygiene. Could you go into that a little bit? Because I know that's kind of a newer concept, especially for people in the military, right?
Right. So the big thing with sleep is like trying to establish some kind of routine, right? So any type of routine, like most people have routines where they get up, they eat breakfast, They get dressed, they take a shower, that kind of thing, right?
Hopefully
but they
not
don't.
in that order.
Well,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
right, yeah, not in that order, but there should be a routine when you're trying to go to sleep, right? So the things that I've seen and kind of read and studied, you want to kind of create a routine before you go to sleep. So like 2 hours before, right? 2 hours before your actual time that you are going to go to sleep, kind of make your house as dim as possible, and try to turn off like all electronic items and stuff like that, because we all know or heard of blue light,
Right.
It's supposed to kind of mess up your circadian rhythm and stuff. So basically what you're trying to do is reset that circadian rhythm. I always say, me personally, I tell people to kill their TVs, because I'd say probably about 90% of people have a TV in their bedroom, which isn't the most conducive thing, because what do you do when you get into your bedroom? You usually turn on the TV and then you fall asleep, right? So there's other light and other sounds and stuff like that. So so turning off all electronics, making sure everything's at least dim, blocking out all types of light if you can, like blackout curtains and stuff like that. And then trying to wind down beforehand. So like read a book, don't be on your phone, play on your phone, looking at Instagram, following H2F stuff.
What a great plug you had there.
Yeah, right.
Indiana H2F.
I'm practicing, right? So, but that's kind of like, you just want to set that routine up.
That's so interesting, because obviously so many of us have routines in the morning, but not necessarily
Right.
in the evening. And turning those electronics off 2 hours prior and doing those things, that's a really interesting perspective you have there.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the ACFT, right? So
Right.
what advice do you have as the H2F team that soldiers can take to prepare for the ACFT, taking those principles so that they
dreaded
can,
ACFT.
so that they can do the best that they possibly can on it?
Army Regulation 350-1 explicitly states don't make the assessment your base for your training plan.
Yeah.
So don't train specifically for the test.
Okay.
But that being said, it's all in how we frame things, right? Like the world and how we see it's all in how we frame stuff.
Right.
So you can either look at the ACFT as like, oh, it's this thing that I have to do once or twice a year, and it's horrible, and I don't want to do it, and I don't have to run, or whatever your hang up on it is. Or you can look at it and say, the ACFT measures all the different components of fitness, which is a great step up from where the APFT was. So you've got your strength, your anaerobic capacity, aerobic power, all that kind of fun stuff in there, right? The benefit there to the soldier, train however you want. Do something fun. Find something you like. We'll throw in a little extra stuff. So you mentioned ultra marathon runners earlier. If your person is an ultra marathon runner, or if that's what you're down for, then cool. We can train you, go do your ultra marathons, run slower, right? Call us about that. I'll tell you all about it. But there's a couple little things that we can throw into your training plan weekly, monthly to help you pass the standing power throw, or help you work on a little bit of strength, which, hey, by the way, some strength training will also help you on your ultra marathons. Same thing where I think most of our soldiers are these days. They're mostly in that I want to be big and strong and muscular world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the hill that I'll die on, well, I won't die on this hill because I'll be able to run up and down it real easily. But aerobic training will, if done correctly, make you stronger. It's all about, one of the biggest things that I've learned from the coaches and reading different books and research while I've been down here is you're not necessarily chasing weight on the bar or speed on the road, speed on the track, whatever. You're chasing the ability to recover. And that's really where sleep comes into play, because that's one of the biggest things in recovery is being able to sleep well. Same thing with nutrition. You have to fuel your body correctly, one, to be able to perform, but two, while you're sleeping, your body needs those nutrients to help recover those muscles. Having a higher aerobic capacity will help you recover faster. Specifically, it'll help all your energy pathways and everything recover those systems quicker, so you can lift heavier weights faster and more often in the gym. So that's the short version of aerobic training makes you stronger. So back to your original question, dreaded ACFT, right? It's not that bad.
It really isn't.
Frankly speaking, the minimum standards are pretty low. And if you're rolling your eyes at me out there right now, come talk to us, because the power throw, for example, there's a certain population in the Indiana Guard and really in the Army that we've dealt with that really struggled with the power throw. If you're shorter in stature and a lighter weight person, you might struggle with that a little bit. I don't think we've had a single person come through one of our courses or like one of our 1-2 day training events that came to us failing the power throw and left failing the power throw.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
technique thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of technique. In
absolutely. So there's things we can do. But what you need to work on for the ACFT is different than what I need to work on for the ACFT, which is different than what you need to work on. So that's really back to that FM 7-22.
Yeah.
H2F is supposed to be individualized, optimized, all that kind of fun stuff.
And I like how there's two things you mentioned, customizing that approach and optimizing it for the soldier, but also not chasing how far you can push yourself, but how fast you can recover.
Mm-hmm.
Chasing that recovery, I've never heard that before, but I don't think that's so accurate. I mean, as I think about it, that's a great point you've brought up, which really leads into the next question of how has H2F impacted the military? What has your impact been? Because this is not really a new program, is it? Not an old program. Sorry, this is relatively new. What impact have you guys seen in the short duration of H2F?
Where do I even start? Where do we even start with that?
Yeah. At this point, I think I wouldn't say it's too new, and we've been doing, especially here in Indiana, we've been doing it for a while, right? So we transferred over from the AWC, which was the Army Wellness Center and stuff like that. I think, since all of the ACFT stuff came out, tag back in the day was all over it. So we started really hounding on getting guys trained in a what am I trying to say here? Trying to get the force trained efficiently, right? And also with the quality aspect, right? So in that, I have seen from my side anyway, being from, going from the Life Fit down at Camp Atterbury and then heading back up to be a readiness NCO, I've seen guys squatting more. I've seen guys deadlifting and stuff like that. So that effect, I think, has come out from the whole inception of it, where people aren't just doing 2 miles of running and push-ups and sit-ups. So it's getting out in the field. It's kind of changing what they call the culture, right? Mm-hmm. What we're trying to do.
Oh yeah.
You Crystal, you got anything?
Sure. Besides just some testimonies from from other soldiers in our courses, I would think that we are changing also the impact of the thought process of how to work out and how to look at food and how to think properly, or what's the appropriate way of being able to sleep in the midst of you're away from your home, right? Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of that comes down to education. Is just educating the force to being able to say, hey, this is what you can do in the midst of it. This is what's in your power. You have control of what you can do. And I think that in itself, even if it's not any type of stats or data, but that in itself is something that they can take away with, and you can just automatically see light bulbs click right away. So, and also not just through the force, but also in their personal lives. We all, I don't say we all, but majority, have families. We all we are caretakers to a certain extent. And I think just being able to provide a purpose for themselves outside of not just the force, but what they do at home, and giving them a better why or a sense of themselves and the confidence to implement that.
That's awesome. So you briefly mentioned testimonials. Do you have any testimonials or success stories that you feel comfortable sharing through the course of the implementation of H2F?
Yeah. So a couple that come to mind, well, 2 guys that come to mind, I won't mention their names. One of the programs that we run that H2F's run for a while, you started off with it, Life Fit. Mm-hmm. Everybody's probably familiar with that name, but if they're not, it's a 15-day course, 10-day phase 1, 5-day phase 2. about 60 days in between usually. And they come down to us and do strength conditioning, nutrition, all 5 pillars of H2F for about 10 to 14 hours a day. So they're pretty long days usually.
Wow.
One of my favorite stories, one of the best interactions, we had 2, let's call them lively characters through phase 1, couple summers ago. They come back to phase 2 and you could visibly see a difference in them. Now the life fit population, we've had all sorts of soldiers and airmen come through it because we do have Air National Guard folks attend as well. But it's generally for if you're failing or flagged for PT or the body composition program, also known as height weight, for those of you that don't read the manual. Read the manual. So these guys were flagged for both PT and height weight, and they came back to us, and like I said, you could see a visible change in them. And I'm like, guys, what did you do? Tell me all about it. Like, one of the things we do for phase 2 is like, hey, what worked well, what didn't? Let's talk about it, right? And they kind of get sheepish with me, and they're like, well, we didn't actually work out at all. I'm like, okay, what did you do? Well, we just kind of changed. I meal prepped a couple times a week, and I shopped the outside of the supermarket, which is where most of like the fresh stuff is. And the way they were talking to me was like I was gonna be mad at them because they weren't in the gym and lifting or doing bro lifts or whatever, right? And I high five both of them. I'm like, guys, they lost a combined, was it 63 pounds?
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 guys lost combined 63 pounds in about 60 days from phase 1 to phase 2, all just by changing the way they ate.
So that nutrition piece really can have a huge impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I usually do a little. You guys don't have a whiteboard in here. I wish you did. I'd draw it right now. But
He loves his whiteboards.
I do. I do like Maslow's hierarchy of needs type thing, and nutrition is the bottom of it. Well, nutrition and discipline.
Right, yeah.
Because you can be doing all the right running, all the right lifting, all the right everything. If you're not fueling your body correctly, you're not gonna. You'll make some progress. You're not gonna make as much progress as you could.
And by bottom, you mean like the beginning of the foundation, right? Not necessarily like the least important.
Base of the pyramid. Yep.
Need
Arguably
that-
most important.
We need that
'cause the
whiteboard.
pyramids describe
See?
bottom to the top. So
Well, there's another thing that I always told Life Fit when I was running it is like if you had the means, and I can't remember where I heard it from, but if you had the means to buy like this fancy supercar that's got 1,200 horsepower and stuff like that, and it runs on race fuel, are you going to put E85 in it or some other fuel that it's not supposed to run on?
right.
It's probably going to run like crap. So it's the same thing with your body.
Yeah.
You got to put the right things in to get the results you want out of it.
All I can think of right now are my friends that are going to watch this, and they're like, Adam has no idea what Jason's saying.
Okay,
I don't do cars.
So what about like you have an electric car like a Tesla? You don't want to put gas in it.
Yeah.
Makes
Because
sense.
electricity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It won't run on gas.
I believe you.
Okay.
I believe you.
We're hitting all sorts of sciences today. That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Oh, I love it. See, we need a whiteboard.
Yeah.
How do you see the H2F program evolving in the future? Because, like you said, it is new, right? And we are constantly adjusting and shaping. And what is its potential impact on future military programs?
The evolving question. I think it'll be ever evolving, because as anyone knows, when people start to research things and they get out there and they have scientists running numbers and hooking up electrodes to people and all this stuff, all that stuff, usually it doesn't change drastically, but it does change a little bit. And I think the H2F, in my mind, from what I can see, is kind of running along the same scientific type of development, right? So I think it's going to eventually evolve, hopefully, into, everyone has like an active duty, everyone has some type of H2F entity that's attached to them in the units and stuff. Hopefully, maybe. But you got anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, so right now, all 54 states, territories are funded a project officer for H2F because the manual, and you kind of mentioned earlier, H2F is new, but it's not. And that's a good way of putting it because, like, for example, we started the H2F pilot program back in, 16, 17?
Right, yeah.
Indiana was the only state, only National Guard or reserve component to get an H2F pilot. Everything else
wow.
was active duty. Yeah. And so that's kind of where we're at now, or how we're as far along as we are now. And so I think one of the big things with H2F, like you said, there is a lot of civilian involvement, strength coaches, registered dietitians, ATs, PTs, all those kinds of fun folks. And so hopefully it does continue to evolve with the latest trends and all that. But the manual pretty much says, hey, Reserve and National Guard folks, you're going to have to figure out H2F for yourself. And so that's what all those project officers are doing across the country right now. Yeah. We have regular meetings on teams and say, hey, what's Michigan doing? What's Illinois doing? All that kind of fun stuff. Personally, I think you're going to have to kind of decentralize H2F a little bit. So right now we have the battalion initiative. So each of the coaches is assigned about 2 battalions. You've got 81st Troop Command and 638th.
638th, and then I'm also in with 219th Brigade.
Right. Down at JCA.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so each of the coaches around the state, we've got 5 down at Atterbury, 2 that kind of bounce between Lawrence and Lawrence and Stoutfield, and then 2 up at South Bend. So they've each got a couple battalions that they're working with more directly, trying to build that relationship and kind of decentralize that a little bit. So I think that's kind of to me, that's the long-term trajectory there.
Gotcha.
And it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but not to talk poorly about LifeFit or any previous predecessors, but it seems like LifeFit was almost reactive, whereas this program is more trying to optimize the force before they even know they need it, right? I mean,
Right.
Even if someone's not failing their ACFT, they can still come to you and say, hey, I want to do better. So you're identifying those issues maybe before they're even issues.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you've dealt with it before me. I've been dealing with it for 3 or 4 years now. You just got a phone call yesterday that was like, hey, you're the LifeFit guy now, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
yeah, we're the LifeFit guys.
Yeah.
But we also work with the RSDs. We
Yes.
work with the battalions.
Yeah.
We do the 2-day H2F clinics that are more. The 2-day H2F clinic, for example, we're doing those every month. Some of them are scheduled for weekends for traditional soldiers, so they can split train a little bit easier. Some of them are scheduled for during the week, so a soldier can kind of figure out what works best in their schedule. I don't have a training calendar for it. I don't have a 2-day, like, by the hour training set. And so the way that we're running it is more of like a workshop clinic style. So if you have somebody that's high performing that wants to come out and learn how to do Olympic lifts or whatever, they can come and work with the coaches and kind of work on technique there. If you've got somebody who's like right on the edge, maybe they don't qualify for LifeFit, they're not a priority yet, but they're real close. They can come in and talk nutrition, how to, what do I need to do in the gym? Because that's a big one too, is like,
Yeah.
gyms are scary. They're intimidating if you've never been in one. I was in that case at one point. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I don't have a training schedule for those 2 days. It's whoever wants to show up, whatever they want to learn. And then I have such great experts down there that work with us that I can just kind of throw them at a problem and be like, hey, this guy wants to do ultra marathons. That girl wants to do Olympic lifting. And these couple folks don't know what they want, but they want to be better at the ACFT and they want to come off their flag. And I'm like, go. And they
Execute.
they kill
awesome.
it.
And I think a lot too what we do on our end, and you kind of mentioned reactive. Well, I think the other side of it is being proactive, and also a huge term that is common is injury prevention in many of our courses. So it's, that we can't necessarily prevent injury 100%. However, there are lots of factors, there are lots of things that we can help you out with, or if we see, red flags right away, we'll be able to help mitigate that. So we'll help minimize the injury prevention with that side of things. And also just with the future of H2F, I don't know if you said already, but we are a free service to service members.
We did not mention
And
that,
so-
no, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely one advantage for our services, is that if you were to go out into a commercial gym, if you were to go out to probably, join a community and you end up paying a service or you end up paying a fee a month. Well, you add that up to, all right, now you have to find another specialty in rehab, or you have to find another specialty in nutrition. Those numbers are going to start to add up. And so when you add all of those numbers up, we're looking, more money out of your pocket versus a free service that we have on our campus. So I think the way for the future is that our name still hasn't been out there of what we do and in our impact, but the individuals that we are making impact with are definitely spreading and sharing that with others.
That's so cool.
So Jim has come up a couple of times. I'm a soldier listening to this podcast. I don't have a local gym that I go to. Does the Guard have some options available for me as far as that's concerned?
So yes and no. So like we got, so most of your armories are outfitted with some type of workout equipment, right? But we are going through, like you visited Tyndall this last week, to hopefully try to help provide guidance on what they should have in the gym, right? So we're actively working on it, trying to get every armory outfitted with that wasn't bad. Hopefully get every army outfitted with the essential items that they would need for, to prepare for ACFT or just general fitness in general,
Gotcha.
Yeah, so Stoutfield Gym, Building 9, just got a huge renovation to it. There's a ton of new equipment over there. Super nice. ACFT standard turf, power racks, all kinds of machines. Jacob's ladder over there. That's my shout out. Do 10 minutes on that thing. It's a killer.
Yeah.
We have a facility down at Camp Atterbury. So there's the main post gym, MWR gym, but then we have our own facility there in Building 344 also. That's more for just H2F kind of specific training. It's open to all soldiers, dependents, family members, folks like that. So yeah, it's like you said, there's a few options. There's just not a one size fits all. So there's various, let's call them banking institutions out there that run certain programs that will give you discounts on gyms. The one in particular I'm thinking of, don't quote me on it, but they waive the 2-year contract, and it's like a reduced fee. So instead of like $35 a month, it's down to like 20 or 25 maybe. You can start and stop anytime type thing. And then of course we have a training application through your phone. You can get it on the National Guard app that we should all have loaded on our phones right now.
Of course.
Right? Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, you can get on there. Soldiers have to contact like one of us to get put into the app, but it is free to them. And it's all training, individualized training from the strength coaches for that particular soldier.
Gotcha.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So if you don't have a gym that you go to, you can just say, hey, I have a rucksack at home and a 32-pound kettlebell or whatever you got, and write me a training plan for that. Or I have nothing. I have a tree that I can do pull-ups on and I can run. That's it.
The big thing is like you can still train for the ACFT without equipment, right? So I think that's really important for people to understand that you don't have to, have a gym membership or anything like that just to get better at the ACFT. Like you said, there's other avenues of approach that we can get everybody in contact with the coaches and they can program stuff for them. But yeah, it's one of those things I heard a lot when the ACFT first came out. It's like, well, I don't have a gym membership. I'm like, okay, but like you have a rucksack. Can you put a rucksack on your back and do squats? Can you deadlift your rucksack? It doesn't take a lot. It does help, yes, absolutely, but it doesn't take like a bunch of equipment.
Bunch of formal equipment, because soldiers should be innovative, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's a program that a lot of people pay a lot of money for, right? That customized training plan that is available as an amenity for our soldiers at no cost to them. That's pretty cool.
Is the app also where they can find out when those clinics are happening that you mentioned?
So the National Guard app, we have our calendar on there with the clinics and life fit dates and all that kind of fun stuff. And then you can it's linked to the other application that does the remote coaching and all that.
Is that still the best way for them to get in contact with your team?
Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, Indiana H2F, or you can, the official email, Indiana H2F ops@army.mil. That'll go to like both of us and a couple other folks. But yeah, we're one of those organizations that call us, email us, get a hold of us somehow. You know, nobody on our side is gonna, and I haven't had anybody out in the force either get upset with contacting our office directly. We're kind of like education branch where it's like, we're here for
Go
the
direct to them,
soldiers.
yeah.
Just come talk to us.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool. Do you have, I guess, one final piece of advice you'd offer for a soldier who's looking to improve their personal health and fitness through H2F? What's one piece of advice that you would offer them?
Do something and eat whole foods.
Eat whole foods and do something.
I think I stole that from you.
Yeah, you did. That's okay.
There you go. No, that's,
There's more.
aerobic conditioning. It'll make you live longer, get stronger, be healthier.
I know he stole yours, but do you have another piece of advice you'd offer for a soldier looking to improve their health and fitness through H2F?
Yes. You're a lot stronger than you think you are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope anyone that's been through basic training knows that, right? You push yourself to the limits and beyond that. Some people listening to this podcast are not actually members of the military yet. Is there one piece of advice you'd offer for someone who's thinking about joining the military? Looking back, you'd give them now with your years of experience.
So
is there one piece of advice you'd offer someone who's thinking about joining the military?
one piece of advice. Fitness related or just general?
In general. In general, yeah.
In general, be open-minded.
Open-minded.
Yeah. Come into it knowing that you don't know anything, and that you're going to learn a lot of stuff and it's going to be fed by fire hose, right?
Interesting.
Without the military, I don't know where I'd be. You know what I mean? I was a manager.
You'd be in a van down by the river.
I would be in a van down by the river, or on my motorcycle out in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, but really, I was a manager at Pier 1, right, when I joined the Army. So I joined active duty first, and I went into it as, okay, I have nothing else to do. I didn't really have a plan, right, for my life. And so I just kind of fell into it. Me and my buddy joined the buddy system, and we went through basic training together, went to our first duty station, and then fell in love with it in sort of a way because of the structure and stuff. But that was a long-winded answer, sorry. But
no, but that's an honest answer, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
This is the advice that I didn't take over the years, so please take this advice. Invest.
Oh, yes.
Invest in money.
Oh, that's
invest in your body, strength and conditioning, nutrition-wise. Invest in your education. You know, I feel like that old guy now that I didn't listen to 19 plus years ago, but it goes by in a flash. I never intended in making it a career. I joined mostly because I wanted an adventure and for the college money. And then 20 years later, here I am looking at retirement in a few years, several years. But I wish I would have paid more attention to TSP and investments.
It's big now.
Education went well for me, but I could have done things a little bit better. I get upset with the physical monster that I could have been if I had H2F and strength and conditioning things when I was 19.
Yeah.
You know, so invest in your body.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to recondition somebody who was once fast, strong, had a lot of muscle tone, all that kind of fun stuff, than it is to take somebody who's in their late 30s, 40s, and never really was in good shape.
Right.
It's a lot easier to recondition than it is to do it later in life.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Invest.
That last part was a personal attack at me, I felt like. Crystal, you have no prior time in the military, right? You've never been?
No prior service.
But I'm sure you have a unique perspective with your role. So what is a piece of advice you'd offer for someone who's thinking about joining the military with what you know and your experience here in the National Guard?
Yes. So, I mean, one piece of advice is that you're still a person. You're still an individual. And I think with that comes down to just, having the confidence in yourself. Whatever you do in life, in or and out of military, do it with all you have.
I love that.
That's awesome.
What a great answer.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on
Absolutely.
the Lima Charlie podcast. We definitely appreciate you sharing your knowledge about H2F, about Life Fit, and showing everyone how much our state has invested in this, because this is obviously an investment and it's not going away.
Right, yeah.
The National Guard is and the Army is very serious about making this a long-term thing. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah,
no
We
problem.
would definitely
Thank you.
encourage listeners to reach out to
Oh,
you
yeah.
all.
Oh,
I'm sure you're
absolutely.
okay with us encouraging them.
Oh,
to-
yeah, absolutely.
What's the best way? One more time for everyone. The best way to reach your team.
My phone extension is 64310. It rings to my cell phone. My wife's going to kill me now. But Indiana H2F Ops
Yeah.
at army.mil. Or we're on Instagram, Indiana H2F, Facebook, Indiana H2F, any one of those.
National Guard app.
National Guard
National
app.
Didn't even bring up the app. Oh my goodness. Brought it up 10 times earlier, but
Instagram, right? DM things.
Yeah, Indiana
right?
H2. Yes,
I'm
that's
old.
a direct
I don't
message.
know what that means.
Yep.
no
We'll
Twitter.
have your son explain it to you here in a minute.
Yeah, thank you. He's out there right
Yeah.
now waiting on me.
No, that's awesome. But thank you guys so much for coming on the Lima Charlie podcast. Lima Charlie out.
The stations shipping on each other.